Hello.
Hello, Ben. What did you think of Attack of the Clones?
Oh, you're skipping right to it, are you?
Oh, I'm not waiting. I'm not giving you an opportunity to bullshit. Let's do this. What did you think?
Well, I think I liked it,
Oh, okay.
but okay, I like everything. When they go to Tatooine onwards, I like basically all of it, most of it. There are a few changes I'd
Okay.
make. It suffers from real issues in the first bit, but I was pleasantly surprised on the whole. On the whole, that first chunk is a drag, but on the whole, I was pleasantly surprised. What about you?
Well, you see, I find as much as I appreciate the importance of it, I find the whole Tatooine stuff to be a bit of a slog.
Mm.
There's not a lot of it, but it's a bit of a slog. It's where I lost interest for a while
It's where I gained
while I was watching
interest.
it. Um, and but I enjoyed it more than I was expecting to.
Yes.
But I've not
Well,
seen it in fucking ages, so
no, I haven't. Um, well, where do you want to start?
well, let's do what we do. We work through. Let's
Okay,
start at the beginning. It's a fucking
so
obvious thing to do. Why we have this conversation every time? Where do you want to start? Start at the start.
so we open with a text crawl that says that there are multiple systems that are thinking of leaving the Republic, and it's a big political issue. And Senator Amidala is coming to vote, and we get
Yep.
a very, very long shot or series of shots of her ship coming down to or
Well,
Coruscant.
I've got something I want to say about that.
All right.
It's very nice for us once the text crawl has vanished to pan up rather than pan down.
Oh, I didn't take notice of that.
Or as far as I recall, every other one you pan down to the planet or the spaceship or whatever,
You may well be right.
and in this one we panned up to it because Corazon was. I mean, they flipped. They were upside down and they flipped over
Yeah,
to.
might be right.
Yeah.
You
It was a
probably are.
nice
Probably are.
touch, I thought.
Yeah. Um.
Anyway, yes.
Yeah. Then as soon as her ship lands, it blows up. One wonders why they didn't do that in space.
Yeah.
Because if she's on there and you blow it up in space, she's fucked, right? But if you do it on land, she
Yeah.
might avoid. She might be all right. I don't know. It just seems a stupid thing to do.
I think I know why, but it's a long time ago. I definitely read why it didn't get blown up in space
Why not?
a long time ago. Something to do with it being temporarily disarmed or something.
Oh, okay, that's stupid. Um. Yeah, she said her decoy. It's a decoy that gets killed, and she dies
Poor
saying,
decoy.
"Yeah, she dies saying I failed you." It's like, no, you
Yeah,
didn't. You did exactly the right thing.
did a fucking job.
Yeah, you took the bullet. Took the bullet.
What can anyone ask?
Yeah. Um. So they decide.
Obviously,
Oh,
anyone who was paying more attention would have absolutely known that Padme wasn't on that ship anyway.
because you saw her as the pilot.
Because we saw R2D2 in the Naboo Starfighter.
All right.
It focused on him ever so slightly as he was getting out of the Starfighter. So let's be honest,
Mm,
anyone who's paying attention knows that Padme ain't on the big ship.
mm. Well, then the Chancellor says you need protection, which I like that moment because that's Palpatine saying I'm going to put Anakin in a situation where his feelings are going to be under pressure and he's going to get criticism from Obi-Wan for it.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I thought, a clever little nudge. Um,
It's him doing his puppetry, isn't it?
yes, he's probably been doing it, since he met Anakin, like
Mm-hmm.
finding ways to engineer
Well, later on, there's
situations.
conversation about how he's been a good mentor, or is or like or whatever it is. It's obvious from
Yeah.
what gets said later on that they have had contact regularly throughout the last 10 years.
Mm. Yes, and Palpatine's probably been putting the strings behind the scenes as well in that
He's
regard.
been grooming him. Let's be honest, that's what
Yeah.
he's been doing.
Yeah. Um, and I want to address one of the issues I and many other people have with this film is that
Go on.
we're told in A New Hope that Obi-Wan considers Anakin a good friend, but we don't get a lot of that shown to us. And I sort of think of the three films, Attack of the Clones is really the film where you can show that to us for the bulk of it, if not the
Yeah,
entirety of it. You know,
he comes across more as a almost resentful older brother.
yes, they're not getting on, they're clashing. Obi-Wan doesn't really understand Anakin. Anakin is sort of pushing against him a good bit and doesn't feel like he's getting his due credit for various things. Um, yeah, they should have been like the closest of bestest buds, really.
Mm.
And then in Revenge of the Sith, you can show how you know they've been affected by things, or maybe even to the tail end of this film.
Oh, actually, does he say that he considered him a good friend, or does he say and he was a good friend?
And he was a good friend.
Okay, because that I know what your point is,
Yeah.
but linguistically, it doesn't necessarily mean that he was a good friend to him.
uh, okay, that's all right.
I mean,
I
I know I agree with you
It's a
entirely,
flimsy
but
fucking.
linguistically, there is grounds for
Yes,
well, you know,
he was a good friend to all those other characters we see him interact with. He was
he
a
was a
good
good friend to your mother,
he was a
that's for sure.
good friend to R2 by all accounts. Oh wait, you're not supposed to know that, Luke.
Yes.
Um,
Anyway,
yeah, Anakin is a whiny bitch.
yeah, and he is throughout basically all of us, isn't he? I mean, he gets a bit of a pass while he's on the tail end of Tatooine,
Yeah,
I'd say, but I mean, outside of that, it's all a bit.
I I'm fine with that past Tatooine, right? But
Yeah, he's grieving. Right?
yes, it may
It's
we'll
understandable.
we'll talk about Tatooine because I think as I say, I like that was the moment where the film sort of turned for me. But it's not a great love story because
No,
George Lucas can't write it and he sure as shit can't direct it.
there's a line I wrote it. No, I didn't write it, but I wrote it down as a note.
Mm.
You'll always be that little boy I knew on Tatooine,
Yeah.
and I can't help but think she should remember that later on in the movie with A, what she wears, and B, how she acts.
well, you see, if they'd been around the same age in the first film, this would have made it a decent bit more sense, I guess.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
yeah, he spends his time complaining about his mentor, sort of
Every
arguing with him.
chance he gets.
I thought about this and it's like, imagine if I was like Padme or someone in Padme's entourage and I was seeing this, I'd be so fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah.
There's that scene where she's packing.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the few. Another minor little tangent. Most of the scenes talking is just them, people in a room talking or walking somewhere in a room talking. This is one of the few scenes where there's actually action going on while they're talking. But she's packing a suitcase and he's complaining about how he's getting really angry about it. And
Oh
she's
yeah.
like, "Well, mentors, yeah, it can be difficult, I guess." It's and then he looks at her and she says, "Please don't look at me like that. You're making me uncomfortable."
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and that's her expressing a boundary that she needed to keep in place for the rest of the fucking film.
But it's just
I
so
just want to establish this.
you could have said it. You could have set it up where I don't know. You could have done it better. He and Obi Wan are the best of friends, and Obi-Wan's sort of warning him off these feelings, but in a friendly way. And Padme's into it too, and there's a bit of flirting going on. This was not the way to handle this. This is really bad.
We we get the second assassination attempt,
Yes.
and there is a brief moment when there is a conversation going on, but there's action going on as we flip between the bugs trying to kill her.
Mm.
They're talking about politicians,
Mm.
Obi-Wan and Anakin, and the line "the Chancellor doesn't appear to be corrupt" stuck out to me because
Yes, the Jedi are so fucking
one of
blind.
them. I know we've talked about it before,
Yeah.
but the chain of people that want um, Padme dead. Um, do you wanna go into that?
Okay, I guess you mean that there's Zam, the bounty hunter. Okay, no,
Well, I
well,
mean,
what do you mean?
okay, so
Newt Gunray hires Django, who hires a lady who gets a droid to do it.
well, I don't think necessarily Newt goes directly to Django because we know that
Newt
he's
goes to
speaking
Dooku.
to Dooku about it. So Newt Gunray goes to Dooku to get Padme killed. He doesn't want to do it, so he gets Django to do it. But Django doesn't want to do it, so he gets Zam Wesell to do it, who can't be asked to do it, so he gets the robot to do it by sending the bugs in.
You can get rid of that Zam character entirely. It should have just been Django, right? You have
Yeah,
Django. He
absolutely.
fight. He fight. He's you cut when you're cutting between Obi-Wan and Anakin, you cut back to Django like on a rooftop opposite. He's lining his sights up, and then they sense it and run in, and she wakes up just as he fires, and the dart embeds itself in the wall.
Yeah, yeah,
You
got
don't
all
need
that.
that. You don't need that character. Um, all that chase. When I opened the film up, I was like 2.5 hours, fucking out, and you can like all the Star Wars films, you can cut a good chunk of this out.
But it's more like two when you take into account the credits.
Well,
It's 2:20
2:15 or
maybe.
something, I
You
think
know.
it was. Yeah. Um.
Anyway, I see. I made a note about the Coruscant chase, and I said it's a bit hammy, but it is nice for expanding Coruscant. Because all we
Yes.
get of Coruscant is skylines and inside buildings, right? Whereas that way we get a bit of life to it.
I do
Um,
like. Yeah. Sorry. Go on.
no, that's it. It's a silly thing, but for what it does in terms of world building, I can live with it.
I basically agree. I have a couple of points. Firstly, why is Obi-Wan the one who jumps out the window? Surely Anakin is the impulsive one who wants to find out who's doing this and is obsessed with Padme. He should have jumped out the window, and Obi-Wan should have had to
because
go and get him.
because Anakin's distracted by the fact that Padme's in NIT.
Hmm. Bit dangerous as to leave her without any protection while you go and chase this droid. The assassin could be like right outside the window and could just shoot her at
No,
that
no,
point.
Rose Byrne was there. Thank you.
Okay, you've got some maids. Great.
Handmade, and I'm assuming the security guy turned up again. I feel like someone else turned up.
Well, he did a bloody smashing job when that ship blew up, didn't he? Um,
Wow.
there's a bit where Zam Weasel shoots the electric conduit thing,
Yep.
and
And it does nothing.
Anakin proceeds to drive through it rather than going over it, which I thought was really weird. Um, and when they crash, nobody on the ground seems all that bothered.
No, I was thinking it'd be. Obviously, I know there wouldn't actually be any, but I did write. Imagine the paperwork if that speeder had hit someone.
Yeah. Jedi
You
don't
know,
do
the collateral
paperwork.
damage. Well, the next point I made was the impunity with which they operate while chasing her
Yeah,
is indicative of their whole overconfidence
yeah,
in being self-right.
yeah.
You know, it's a point of who they are.
It's
It's indicative of them.
Jedi business. Go back to your drinks. We've just cut a woman's arm off in front of you all.
Yeah, literally just cut someone's arm off.
Yeah, it's
And that
fine.
whole
We can do
bar
what we
scene is
want.
really just to tie back into A New Hope.
Yeah, it is.
The slicing the arm off for the Jedi mind trick, which we
Yeah.
don't really see effectively in the first one.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know,
Um.
it's all it is. It's trying to tie Obi-Wan in with Ben Kenobi.
Um. For a shapeshifter, she doesn't really use her powers, does she?
No, you'd think she would probably change,
She would
or leave would be helpful.
shut that costume off, turn into a Dabo girl or whatever they have, um, and just sort of hunker down. But no, she remains wearing the same clothes she was that they've seen her in,
And tries to kill one of them.
and makes herself very known.
Yeah, it's a
So
very silly thing to do.
yeah. What's next?
The Camino Dart really is.
Oh yeah, he goes to the 1950s diner and finds out that it's from a place called Camino.
Yeah, it's a handy that he knew Dexter.
Yes, it is. And then in a scene I like, he checks in the archive, and it's what plays
Yeah.
into the whole Jedi overconfidence thing with the librarian, the archivist. It's like, well, if it's not in the archive, it don't exist.
Mm.
The archive is not wrong. It's like
Just briefly going back to the diner, I
yeah.
read recently that the two waitresses in there
Oh god.
were played by the same woman,
All right.
the robot one and the human one. And he was originally written to be married to the human one.
And just fucking the robot one on the side.
Well, one assumes with the Jawa juice.
Ugh.
He liked to check out her Jawa juices. Yes.
Messing up his mustache.
So he goes to the Jedi archives. Jocasta knew the old woman. Is like, oh, it doesn't exist if it's not in the archives. And he goes to Yoda with the younglings, and they solve the problem for him.
Hmm.
I've got one specific note about this.
Yeah.
One of the younglings is called Liam.
Yes, I noticed that as well.
Like, it's such an out of place name.
I thought, well, it must be spelled differently, or maybe that's the actor,
Oh
the
no,
kid actor's
no,
name.
no, it's not because I've got the subtitles on and it's spelled like our way of spelling Liam.
It's
I'm watching
rather,
the subtitles, but it's fucking ridiculous.
it's like having a Jedi called Craig, isn't it?
Yeah, or Jeff.
Kiadi Mundi and Liam.
Steve, would you mind passing my lightsaber? It just doesn't work, does it? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, there's, it's either Phlox Balmok or Terry. That's
Yeah.
that's what it is. Maybe that's like a really out there exotic name. It's probably
Maybe, I suppose,
it's
but it is.
probably the actor's name. They probably kept it the same because he was a kid and he didn't understand why everybody was calling him Wilmot Shambly Brow or something. You know?
Yeah, maybe. So while all that's going on, you've got Anakin and Padme off to Naboo.
Yeah. From Maul.
I he has a bit of an argument there as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he
With her
does.
about
It's like
Timothy.
if I was the Queen, it's like fucking hell, man. This guy's a dick. This is a really awkward situation.
And I didn't have many notes about the whole getting there kind of thing, but when they're there and they're having that little argument, there's the old guy who was in the last one and was like, "You must contact us."
Yes.
He got old.
Yeah.
He seems so much older to me. I know he's meant to be 10 years older in the thing, but
Yeah.
like you can't. He looked so much older than just 10
Yeah.
years older.
Yeah. It was only like 3 years in
Um,
between the film, or probably less, really. I
well,
guess.
exactly. We
Um.
get his "I don't like sand" comment
Yeah.
while we're there, doesn't it? Don't we? And I
It's
have to say, oh, it's
it's
so much worse than I remember.
bad writing and bad directing. Like he
I'd forgotten that it was leading into a flirt.
George Lucas does not know how to direct people. He's like touching her.
I know.
It's just
I don't like sand. It's coarse, rough, and it gets everywhere.
it's
It's not
someone
like here where everything's soft and
smooth
you
like
know.
you, rubs
And
back.
he's touching her hands, and then he's touching her butt, and he licks her face, and it's just weird. It's a weird scene.
It's
Why is
it's
it happening?
it's a scene written and directed by a man who doesn't know what flirting is, except outside of like romantic films that he's seen.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
You know?
I will know. I will say, and I look. I know I harp on about this, but I double checked this. I wrote it, and then I made a point of keeping an eye on it. Basically, everything she wears whilst they're on Naboo is at least a little bit seductive.
Are you saying she was asking for it?
I'm saying that she was, at times, despite knowing that any sort of entanglement between them was damaging to both of them, because they have a whole conversation about it while she's wearing that black leathery number with the fireplace. That's another one she shouldn't be wearing in
presumably,
front of him.
presumably they've just been staring into each other's eyes for like 5 minutes because they're not. I don't think they're talking when the scene starts. They're just looking at
I
each
don't know.
other.
I don't know what the fuck's going on, but the point is, the stuff she's wearing is not. It would lead someone on. Okay, if my partner was wearing stuff like that with just me around, you gotta wonder why. That's a prime opportunity to be wearing your comfies,
Are you
right?
are you,
Not dressing up for
you suggesting Padme should have been in her jammy jams?
Yes, I'm absolutely suggesting
A
that.
gun
Why the fuck is she wearing that outfit?
a
Who
Gungan
is she
onesie.
dressing for?
She's dressing for herself.
Okay, but what? Why?
I
Why is she doing that?
don't know.
It's
Um.
it's but clothes like that. Look, she can dress how she wants, right? And I understand that this potentially has real world implications for how I feel about certain things. This is not the case. This is a woman who is adamant that a relationship between the two of them is a bad idea.
Mm.
If I was in that position, I would wear the least sexy clothes I could.
I think
Right?
you have a point.
I do have a point.
You are
I
also slut shaming Padme, which is fine.
And you know what? I will, because in my note, and I didn't tell you this, in my note, I called her a hussy. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, she does have the same feelings for Anakin, so it may be that she wants to, but she doesn't want to, and she's just as conflicted as he is.
See, that's my interpretation of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got. I mean, just you'd
Yeah.
always be that little boy I knew on Tatooine. Now look how this dress pushes up my tits. It just doesn't work. It doesn't. It's not. It's just such a contradiction.
Um.
Such a contradiction.
Then we go to Camino, don't we?
Yeah, it's intermingled with this.
Well,
There's a bit of jumping.
yeah, I was. I think Camino is really the point where I started to like the film because I got a bit into the intrigue.
Okay.
I thought it probably could have been played better and had more of an impact. But I like the fact that he shows up and they're
Mm.
expecting him, and it's like, oh, okay, what's this? It's like, yes, we have the army you prepared, that army that.
They don't seem at all phased by the fact that he
No,
doesn't know anything.
well, he covers it reasonably well, but yeah,
The army?
there's.
What army?
Well, yes, we have your army.
I mean, oh yes, I'm here to inspect the army, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry,
Oh,
silly me.
oh, that army. Oh, oh,
Oh, I thought you were talking about the armies up my sleevesies.
yeah. Um, yeah, because this debate about the army is fairly new, and we've been working on this for 10 years. It's like, who requested this? Sifo
Yeah.
DS. Well, Sifo DS has been dead for 10 years. You know, it's this idea that something bigger is going on, and it's like, oh, what? This is weird. But I like that scene. I like that scene.
There's no reason why the message to the council shouldn't have nipped that whole debate in the bud immediately. You know, the issue we have is that the Jedi overconfidence, and they do discuss talking to the Senate.
Mm,
Mace Windu and Yoda talk about it, and they're like, "No, we can't because we'll have even more enemies if they realize how weak we are." And it's like, well, you
God,
know,
yeah.
that confidence has basically plunged the galaxy into war for however many years now. So thanks for that. Well done, lads.
But if they
Job
come
done.
out and said, "Look, we have there's an army, we have real fucking concerns about it,"
Yeah, it
Well,
should stop that whole debate
I
immediately.
I don't know. I think
Immediately, wouldn't it?
by the time shit kicks off on Geonosis, it's like the Senate can overrule the Jedi and say, "Look, we know you've got concerns, but we kind of need this now.
Yeah,
We are willing to
I
take the risk.
suppose.
We don't have a choice."
Um, I did make a note about another line
Yeah.
during this section. Um, did you catch what the instruction was so that he could contact Mace Windu and Yoda?
Was it the old people's home?
R4 scramble code 5 to Coruscant, care of the old folks home.
Yes. So was that?
And I paused it and I googled this to make sure I hadn't misunderstood it. And it is that. It is literally that.
Yeah,
It's like
I
code
assume
5.
that's the code for the Jedi Temple.
Yeah, it's some sort of secret code,
Okay.
apparently.
Yeah, that.
It's
I
a
mean, I did catch that as well, and
it's just a weird line, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
We have him fight against Django Fett.
Django Fett. I wish Django and Boba Fett had a more father-son relationship. I was thinking when they get to the
Yeah, it's
arena,
not well presented, is it?
when they get to the arena, there's a bit where Boba's like looking at it, or Boba's like looking at the
Yeah.
action, and I thought wouldn't it be cool if Django was like right behind him with a hand on his shoulder, like pointing shit out. It's like a
Yeah, that would be.
like father and son at a football match type thing.
It didn't need to be a lot.
No.
It seemed to be fairly one-sided, didn't it? With Boba encouraging him to kill Obi-Wan
Yeah.
later on, but and helping, trying to at least with the ship.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I feel like it wouldn't have taken a lot to make it seem make that emotional kill
You
a bit more emotional.
you could have built that relationship a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So we have him fight against Django. How do you feel about the existence of Django and Boba in this film?
well, I mean, the whole thing's just based off the fact that Boba Fett is such a popular character and was at that time. I don't really mind it.
It was originally just going to be Boba Fett, apparently. Like mid 90s, he was talking about it only being Boba Fett, and they
Mm,
decided to expand it a bit. Um,
that might, I don't know. That's putting an awful lot on the same character, but
well, you know,
I don't know. You could have just written it so we've created the ideal super soldier or something. I don't know. So you don't.
yeah,
I think it's fine. I think it's fine.
yeah, fair enough.
It does make your
Um,
universe a bit smaller, but yeah. Yeah.
do you want to go to Geonosis or Tatooine now? Obi Wan
Um.
on Geonosis or Luke? Not Luke. Anakin and Padme.
Well, I don't have an awful lot to. Well, I suppose we'll go to Tatooine.
Okay, Tatooine.
So Anakin has dreams about his mother.
He does. Bit of a bit creepy, but all right.
His mother in
He
pain,
he hunts
dying, and
down he hunts down Watto to find him and ask him.
he
Watto being his former owner.
looks a bit unkempt, Watto. And Watto is
Yeah,
a bit intimidated by Anakin because Anakin's a Jedi and he used to own him, and he's just sold his mother.
yeah. But at the same time, he doesn't seem aggressive. He seems like he's an all right person at this point. Obviously, Watto's not a good guy. I
No,
would say by our by human modern day real world standards, Watto is not a good guy.
he's a slave
But
owner.
he doesn't seem like a bad guy
Just
at
because
this
you're a
point.
bad guy doesn't mean you're a bad guy. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, he I literally wrote Watto seems all right. You know, he could be resentful of what happened. He could be a whole host of things. But he's like, you know what? I'll answer the questions and I will help you. I will give you the info you want.
And you know what?
You
He
know,
he keeps his records.
he does. You know, and it would be so easy for who's he paying tax to?
Oh, I don't
The
know.
Huts, probably.
Probably. Yeah.
How do you feel about Klieg? Klieg Lars.
I I. It's never specified, but I suspect there's a bit of resentment there from Anakin because Klieg just sort of sits on his ass. I know he's lost a leg,
Well, I mean that's a reason for him to sit on his ass.
but I do sort of think he's like given up, and I don't really like him much as a character. I mean, I said in our review of the Phantom Menace that, or before that even, that Owen Beru, Owen Lars should have been Anakin's like brother or half brother
Hmm.
because it's a weird workaround.
Oh, his stepbrother.
Well, I think it works better if he's his half brother because then he knows him, and stuff like that. But um, yeah,
I take issue with the fact that he bought a slave, freed her, and married her. That
well,
feels wrong to me.
maybe he fell in love with her while she was owned by Watto.
I just think the whole setup feels wrong to me because there's no guarantee that she had an opportunity to decline the marriage,
You're right. We never hear her view on things.
and I okay fine. Odds are being married to Klieg is better than working for Watto, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a desirable outcome.
I don't
And
know.
it makes me feel uncomfortable.
She was never raped, tortured, and beaten to death while she was working for Watto.
I mean, you don't know that,
I do.
do you?
Yeah, because she's still alive, isn't she?
Oh, well, okay, fine. But the first two bits,
um,
2 out of 3, you don't know.
um, yes. So it transpires that Shmi has been kidnapped by Tusken Raiders, and they assume she's dead because it's been a month. So Anakin goes out to look for her, and he
Oh, no, she's not dead.
finds her. She's on at death's door, and it's a really nice scene of him and his mum. Because I liked the
Hmm,
scene where he left in the Phantom Menace. I thought that worked emotionally for me, and I like the
hmm.
scene where he sees her again, and then he kills all the Tusken Raiders.
Yeah, we get that bit where Yoda can sort of sense it happening, and
Mm,
Qui Gon's like, "No, Anakin."
yeah.
Even though Qui Gon's dead, so how's that
I yeah,
happen?
I did.
Bum,
I
bum,
thought,
bum.
who is that like a Tusken Raider? And I
It's
did.
Tusken Raider, who somehow it's canonically Qui Gon's
Yeah,
son.
I assumed it must have been Qui Gon, but it doesn't make a. You could have cut that scene out and left it.
Well, it doesn't necessarily. I don't know how well they cover it in the next one, but we have revealed at some point that Yoda and Qui Gon have been communing through the Force
Mm,
because Qui Gon has managed to become one with the Force
mm,
post death,
mm,
which is complicated as fuck.
mm.
But I'm not going to get into that, because I don't know how. I don't know how to become one with the Force.
Well, he kills all of them, including the women and the children. Then he comes back with his mum's body. And there's a scene
And
with.
then he starts bragging about it to Padme.
Well, I have mixed thoughts on that scene. I think it's
Okay.
played in entirely the wrong way. I think he should be kind of horrified by his actions rather than just seriously pissed off and full of hate. I think there should be a moment where he's like, "What the fuck happened there? I can't believe I did that." And the
I
hub,
think you need to transition from anger to self-loathing around a point where he says, "And for children." I
yeah,
think that's the maybe he can reconcile the fact that he killed the women, but when he starts killing the children, it's like, "Oh fuck,
yeah,
what have I done?"
I think the emotional tone. He shouldn't. It shouldn't be all hate. There should
Mm.
be a bit of that, but there should be a lot of fucking hell.
We get some memorable music on Tatooine.
Well, hang on, I'm not finished with that scene. Um,
Alright.
I was thinking towards the end of that scene that the term toxic masculinity came to mind,
Oh, okay.
and I thought that you could probably do something like that when you've got this young boy who's taken away from his mother and raised by men to repress his emotions, and that he can't love or fear or feel anything, and this is the end result of it. There might be
Hmm.
something in that. I think
Yeah, maybe.
that would be interesting. But that's sort of one of the takeaways from that scene. But yeah, go on. Music.
We get a bit of music on Tatooine that harks back to other songs, not songs, tracks that we know.
Yeah,
Now, there's a bit of Binary Sunset in there,
yeah,
but the one that stood out to me more was the slight variation of Duel of the Fates while he's trying to find Shmi.
yes. And he's asking
Um,
Jawas for directions.
yeah, like that whole bit where he leaves up to the Jawa cutaway is a Duel of the Fates variant,
Yeah.
and it is again. I made the argument last time that there is a consensus amongst a lot of people
Yeah.
that the Duel of the Fates was whether Qui-Gon survived or not to help train Anakin. And here is it's aptly used for this is the turning point as he properly descends towards the dark side.
Mm.
He gives into his emotion
Well, that's certainly the start of it. Losing his mother, being proved right in his fears,
yeah,
doing
his premonitions being
yes,
accurate,
kill
which leads into
yes,
next film.
killing innocents, giving into his hate and his violence.
Yeah,
You know,
the pain and the suffering that he feels and causes.
yeah,
Yeah,
there
so
that
it's an aptly chosen piece of music, I would say.
that's definitely the
But,
start of it, and it's why I think the previous chunk of the film should have been Anakin is happy enough with Obi-Wan, and you can maybe reference some sort of emotional issues with his mother and whatnot. But yeah, that should be the start of the beginning of the end in a sense. Yes.
mm,
And then they get a message, don't they,
yeah,
from Obi-Wan,
they do, which
and
they relay on to the Jedi Council.
yes, they bury Shmi. Um, the head, I don't know where the fuck the headstones went in between now and the New Hope. I guess
Wow,
as soon
maybe
as
they wore away.
as soon as Klieg dies and Owen takes over, he's like, "We're getting rid of those." That's creepy. Um, and Anakin and Padme fuck off with R2D2 and C3PO.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why C-3PO, because surely Klieg bought him.
Well, Klieg needs him. It's like Anakin showed up for like a day, fucked off, brought back his dead wife, and then stole his and
Cross-country.
yeah, stole his farmhand.
Now, this does cause a problem, of course.
What do you mean?
Do you want to mention the problem, or?
Oh, I my head's swimming with other problems regarding C3PO. What is it?
Well, the fact that I don't care what anyone says, Owen absolutely knew what C-3PO was called the whole time that he was working there.
Oh shit, you're
With
right.
Shmi.
It didn't even occur to me. He's seen that
And
droid.
then, not only has he seen that droid, he's dealt with that mannerism and that attitude for however fucking long he's been there, and then he encounters him and thinks, yeah, you know what, I'll have him back.
I mean, C3PO is gold when he meets him again, isn't he?
Okay,
But
but
it doesn't
how many
matter.
droids are going to come around with that
Mm,
with that name? I don't care that it's been 20 odd years.
yeah,
That sticks with you, okay?
yeah, and he knows he should know R2D2 as well, shouldn't he? Does
You would
R2D2
hope
ever?
so, but R2 wasn't there quite as
I
long.
think R2 is on the ship most of the time, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's silly. I didn't even
Um.
think of that. You're right. That's fucking stupid.
So yeah, I take mild concern with that.
This is why C3PO should not have been in the prequels, and nor should R2D2.
Yeah, I can sort of accept R2, but the C-3PO does cause problems.
Yeah,
More problems than R2.
yeah.
But yeah, it's just silly.
So they go to Geonosis.
Yep, to try and fail at to rescue.
Do they ever get that
Everyone.
ship back?
What one?
The ship they go on to Geonosis, Padme and Anakin. Do they ever get that
I
back?
assume so. I assume they must do.
I guess. But they land in a vent, and then they go in the factory. And I like this scene,
Yeah.
but I don't like the fact C3PO and R2D2 are there.
Yeah, I mean their whole C-3PO's entire role on Geonosis is as comic relief.
Yeah,
I suspect
it's.
that's because Jar Jar's barely in it.
Oh, thank God, yeah. Jar Jar Binks, who seals the fate of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Um,
Twice.
Representative Binks.
He's not even elected.
Um, yeah, he is completely pointless.
Hang on a minute.
C3PO in
Was
that.
Padme elected?
Yeah.
Because
Well,
no,
presumably,
'cause
I don't know, maybe.
she said something about when she was asked by the Queen to serve as senator. So maybe the Senate is senator's a royally picked role. I know the Queen's elected.
For Naboo, anyway, you may be right. Maybe like a by royal appointment type thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
like the yeah, maybe I don't know.
so
Because
Padme, yeah,
we don't vote for ambassadors, do we?
no, you may be right. It may be that they decided, well, the Naboobians can choose one and the Gungans choose another. Um,
Everyone's enjoying her in the movies, especially when she's wearing that. Yeah. Anyway,
so
what?
while Tatooine stuff is happening,
Mm.
and we have the factory stuff, which I like. Obi-Wan has met or seen, and then later met Christopher Lee as Count Dooku.
Yeah, he does good work in this.
Well,
Not a
yeah,
lot, but he
it
does good work.
it occurred to me that all that work he did with like shitty Hammer B movies in the 60s and 70s is really paying off
Oh yeah.
because he knows how to play through this. Except for a scene later, which I'll talk about, which just I watched it and I just burst out laughing. Um, yeah, we get they're making deals. There's an alliance going on between the separatist systems and the big corporations.
Hmm.
Um, Obi-Wan is kidnapped, and Dooku tries to sow a little bit of mistrust and say, "Well, there's a Sith Lord in the Senate,
He's not even
controlling the
lying.
Senate." He's not lying.
Where's the mistrust? It's true.
Well, he's sort of playing with his emotions as well. He's like, "Yeah, I miss Qui-Gon. He sure was great."
I don't. I see. I don't think that that's manipulation. I think he's being serious.
I to this day I don't really
Can,
know what Count
canonically,
Dooku's character is.
canonically, he left the Jedi Order very shortly after Qui Gon's death.
Yeah.
It's literally like weeks after Qui Gon died that he falls to the dark side. So I do genuinely think that he meant every word that he was saying
So
in the film.
is he genuinely a Sith Lord, or is he some sort of in betweeny type thing?
Who Dooku or
Dooku,
I no, I think he has converted to the Sith. Yes,
because it's not
but that's not relevant though.
it's not. I'm just trying to get a handle on Dooku as a character.
I think he thinks he's still one of the good guys.
And well, that's certainly what Christopher Lee plays him as, and I've seen interviews with Christopher Lee where he basically sort of says that because he likes playing villains as heroes of their own story, like he did with Dracula and Saruman,
Yeah,
what reasonable
which makes
people.
sense. Most villains think they're the hero.
Well, yeah. Apart from Sidious,
Hmm.
who just doesn't give a shit, and we love him for
Well, he thinks that he's the hero of both sides. That's the problem.
it. um,
But no, he's not lying when he says that there's a Sith Lord in the Senate. He's entirely true,
mm,
and I genuinely believe that he had that emotional attachment to Qui Gon,
yeah,
and as a result of what I've seen elsewhere and what we know about their relationship through here. I think it's honest. I think he's sincere
yeah.
throughout all of that.
Well, they,
There's no reason to lie.
yeah, yeah. Well, they capture Padme and Anakin,
Yep.
and they have a nice little scene where Padme admits that she loves Anakin,
Yeah, whilst wearing a low cut
showing off her
thing that
midriff.
changes halfway through the next scene.
Yeah. And then we get probably the best scene in the entire movie.
Well, hang on. Before, just
Oh,
briefly before,
yeah,
it's established that the Jedi are going to try and help out on Geonosis,
yeah,
and Yoda's going to go and check out this army.
yeah,
And we do get one lovely line from Sidious,
yeah,
Palpatine at this point. I love democracy. I love the Republic,
yes,
and it's such a thing, isn't it? It's such a thing for him to be. It only matters to us because we know,
mm,
right? We can put two and two together from what we've seen in the films up
yeah,
to this point, and we know from having seen the later films.
yeah,
But like, if you didn't know that he was a bad guy, if you hadn't managed to click that together, you'd think, he's really doing what he needs to do
yes. What a
to
conflicted
try and help
character.
everyone. You know,
Uh,
he doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want war, but he understands that he's got to go to war. And actually, we know he's playing both sides, and I think it's such a wonderful moment
I
in his
I
character.
um I have a couple of points actually that you reminded me. One is when they're trying to subtly convince Jar Jar to give him emergency powers, and like if only there was
Yeah.
someone brave enough, and the
If only
Jedi,
Senator Amidala was here.
oh, what to do? Oh, gosh, gosh.
Mm, what do you think, Jar Jar?
Yeah, what do you think? Do you think there's a solution to this, Jar Jar? And the Jedi just sitting there not picking up on any of this.
can I just point out in the last film, it is the representative from Naboo
Yeah.
who calls for a vote of no confidence,
Mm.
and then the senator from Naboo who becomes the Supreme Chancellor.
Yeah.
And in here, it's the representative from Naboo who gives the Supreme Chancellor
I
emergency. Why is Naboo in control of everything?
don't know. They're politically significant, I guess, for some backwater planet. Um.
I mean, their political constitution aligns somewhat with the American one, in that you
Yeah.
get elected for 2 terms at a maximum.
Yeah.
And I've made perhaps that's why. Maybe it's because they're the de facto Americans in this film.
Maybe. I don't know. Did you catch instantly Jar Jar's look to camera very early on when he's reintroduced? As if to say,
I
"Fuck
did.
you. I know you hate me, but I'm still here." The other point I wanted to address is why the fuck is Mace Windu hanging around for this vote and Yoda as well?
Because
Why don't you just go?
it's significantly relevant
Well,
to
why? I
the state
mean,
of things in the galaxy.
surely it's broadcast on some sort of media. You can like tune in on the ship.
Probably,
It
but
just seems this is urgent. Maybe not wait around. I've thought of another issue as well, minor issue. When Obi-Wan's with Django and they tell him to bring him in, where's he going to put him?
don't know.
I suppose he could get another ship from the Kaminoans, but yeah, I suppose I've answered my own question there. All right.
We missed a bit.
Oh,
We missed the fight on the just as he arrives on Geonosis, with the in the asteroid belt, asteroid field,
oh yeah.
with what I believe is universally recognised as the best sound
That.
in Star Wars. That seismic charge that everyone fucking loves. You'll have noticed one of the pictures I got is as it's blowing up.
Mm.
Got that in one. I just want to point out.
I'm
Yeah, that is universally regarded as one of the best sounds.
See, I was aware of that when I was watching. I thought I'd better listen out for this, and it was like, oh no, there's no, didn't really do it for me.
I suppose you've probably been oversaturated to it,
Maybe.
or maybe you don't really like music all that much either, do you? So maybe that's what the issue
I
is.
like music. Maybe
Maybe your ears just don't fucking work
it
properly.
didn't live up to the hype. I built it up in my mind, but anyway, yeah, the arena scene, which is the best scene in the film, maybe one of the
Yeah,
best
you think
scenes
so?
in the entire series. I really like it. All three of them have
There's
something to do. There's enough
there's issues.
there's enough focus given to all of them. I like the creative designs of the aliens, the Reek, the Acklay, and the other thing.
Yeah, Nexu.
Nexu, I knew it was something like that.
So
Uh,
Reek, I couldn't remember
mm.
earlier. I was thinking about it myself. I could be asked to look it up.
I like how they've got to get around it without using lightsabers and stuff. They can't just whoosh them away.
Okay,
Uh,
so when you say you think this is one of the best scenes, do you mean before the Jedi turn up?
yes,
Okay, I can live with that. Yeah,
yes,
that's fair enough.
yes. I like
Because it gets a bit bullshit after that.
I like Geonosis as well. I should say. One thing I will stand by. I like the creative designs of these planets. I like the architecture. I like that
I mean,
arena.
I don't like the fact that so many of these planets all have one key characteristic.
That well, it's
Naboo is the most varied planet we see. Everything else, every planet we go to, it's all one thing. It's
pla-
all either one desert or
yeah.
one ice planet or one forest or one city or one like fucking deserty mountainous area or one ocean planet with a few cities built on it. It's all there's no where's the real world sort of
Planet of the Hats. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean there may be different aspects. You can't explore the entirety of a planet in one scene. This is you know I think it's fine. I think it's fine. I have no issue with it. Um,
I think it starts getting a bit
mm.
more, is all. It's one of the things I like about some of the extended content is that we get more variety in these things.
Yeah, that's true, but
You know?
it's fit for purpose, I think. And even the CG, while we're on the subject, I think there is an awful lot of it in this film.
Hmm.
Um, I wasn't, I wasn't, I didn't hate it as much as I did in the Phantom Menace, but there
I
is,
called the arena fight a CG nightmare.
there is an awful lot of it. Um,
There is a lot, and it's because of when it came out, right? It's fine. I get it.
and George
I
Lucas
can
likes
live with it.
technology. Yeah, it will never surpass real effects and real sets and things like that. But um,
But no, I do like the fight up to the point where the Jedi turn up. I think it is nice to see them doing their own thing in their own way,
mm,
dealing with the issue as it comes to them.
yes,
Um,
Padme unpicks her lock herself,
yep,
manages to survive pretty easily. Fucking
he's on top of
destroys,
things.
fucking shatters her pelvis presumably,
Yeah,
when she
yeah, that's
jumps on
proper.
the reek. It's, if a hymen wasn't broken already.
I've already said before about how I feel like that's probably what causes her to die in childbirth.
Yeah, you may be right. You may be right.
I, it's a big drop. It's a firm creature. She's only a woman, and with no reason to
she's
believe
o-
gravity is any different there than any.
she's only a
You know,
woman. You can't
I,
expect her to frail creature that she is. Quite right too.
the human pelvis is not designed for that impact.
No, it's not. Um,
That's all I'm getting at there.
so you
If
don't.
she was a fucking, I don't know, if she was a Jedi,
Oh yeah, she'd be
I'd be
fine.
inclined to believe there's something else going on there. But she's not. She's an ordinary human woman, as far as
Yeah,
we're led to believe.
yeah.
You know,
So the Jedi show up.
it's so hokey those reveals, isn't it? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I
I
I
mean,
I don't mind. I don't mind.
with her showing off with the lightsaber. Oh, look what I can do with a
Eh,
lightsaber, even though there's nothing to do anything with. Oh, I can wave it around. It's bullshit. It's ridiculous.
I'm
What is the fucking point?
I'm very surprised by our respective reactions to this because 9 times out of 10 we'd react in the opposite way to something like this. You'd be basically fine with it, and I'd roll my eyes. But I'm basically fine with it.
I just, it, I don't like that scene. I don't like that reveal. I like Mace Windu's is fine
mm,
because it's there. It's like, look, you need to stand down now. And
yeah.
it's a bit overconfident, but again, that's a theme throughout the whole trilogy, really, isn't it?
Mm.
But everyone else is just so flashy and showy offy, and again, it leans into the whole self confidence and overconfidence thing. But it's cringe. That's what it is. It's cringe. It's cringy for the early 2000s, let alone cringy for now.
I
It's
I don't I don't mind it. um,
but you can see why I think it,
yeah, I
right?
do. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And then we have the big battle,
Yeah,
and
we get Django doing something that you don't normally see, and that's it's a genuine uh, canonical Mandalorian fighting technique
getting his head cut
because
off.
what's that, sorry?
Getting his head cut off.
No, for flamethrower. The Mandalorians and the Jedi had a big old war
Mm,
pre all this shit going on,
mm.
thousands of years ago, and the flamethrower is a weapon that the Mandalorians use specifically because the Jedi can't deflect it with a lightsaber.
All right, that's neat.
So it's nice to see that something. I don't know if that lore existed before this, but
Probably
it's a
not.
clever fighting
It,
technique anyway, considering the fact he can't deflect it back with a
you
lightsaber, right?
you know it was. I agree, but you know it was he used a flamethrower, and then some fucking nerd went, I will
Well,
incorporate this into my Mandalorian lore.
I want to know when the old I want to know when the game came out because that came out in 2003. When did this film come out?
2002, I believe.
Yeah, it was 2002. Okay, so I know about it from the 2003 Knights of the Old Republic game,
Mm.
right? That's where I first heard about this particular piece of lore. And yeah, so the movie it's very possible and indeed probable, like you say, that the lore is something that came as a lore of this particular scene. But it's still nice to see.
I think it's definitely a case of that. That's that's why the Mandalorian War exists in the first place because they like Jango Fett and they like Boba Fett. Um, yeah, Jango Fett does do something stupid where he decides to get involved in the fight and flies down, but I guess things are going well and he thinks he can handle it. Probably shouldn't have done it.
Yeah, I mean, he was fine he um until he got trampled.
Yeah.
Really,
And then
that was what did him in. That's what broke his jetpack.
he did kill a reek with one shot. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but I mean, how weak was it anyway? It already,
I guess I don't
you
know.
know.
Um, yes, and then there's only a few left, and Dooku gives them a chance to surrender, and Mace Windu says no. and then the clones show up.
Yeah, and Yoda gives his really quite out of order military order, doesn't he?
Um, C3PO and R2
Around the survivors,
a
a
perimeter
perimeter
create.
create. It's such a ridiculous.
C3PO and R2D2.
I've
C3PO,
said it before. Comic relief. That's the only reason they're there.
I know his head comes off and it's replaced by a droid head.
Yeah,
Um, and then they're just left there. Did they
yeah.
did they go back and get him? Who gives a shit?
Right.
You know,
Yeah, probably.
they're just
Probably. You know.
they're just droids. Who cares? You get more. You get attached to them. You just sort of assume, oh, they must have died in the thing. Maybe they found their way back to the ship.
I have to assume that's what it is. I mean, R2's resourceful enough, isn't he?
I
And
don't
he's
know.
for some god knows why reason he's become attached to C3PO.
I don't know how R2D2 got to the. They shouldn't have been in that scene. Let's not focus on it anymore. But yes, the battle.
I repeat, comic relief. This is the
Yeah,
only reason they're there.
yeah, it's stupid.
The Jedi don't want a war, right? And yet they led an invasion with no clear objective.
They did kind of start this, I suppose.
Yeah, they invaded Geonosis with a large army when a small task force would have been more than sufficient. They interrupted that arena with three of the LAAT gunships.
Well, that
Right?
that was coming already. That war was that invade. They just got in the first hit. If they hadn't have done it, they would have been screwed anyway, wouldn't they?
I don't know. They jump into the whole military leader role very quickly for people who don't want it.
They do. I was thinking that, like, oh, they seem to know their way around an army.
Yeah, we know how to do all this kind of shit. We've not had a war for 1,000 years, but hey, we
Mm.
know how to lead an army. That's old. That's longer than there hasn't been a war in Yoda's lifespan. That's what that means. Just think about that for a minute.
Why? It's always sort of. I've always thought that the idea that the Jedi automatically take over command roles would be a bit galling to anybody who might have been involved in, like, I don't know. Presumably, you got like civil wars on planets and things like that. Minor incur. You've got people who would presumably know a bit more about this sort of thing,
Yeah, you'd say so.
right? There must be more qualified people than Kiadi Mundi
Yeah,
to lead an
I mean
army.
he's got so many wives to deal with.
I know. I just thought,
He doesn't want a war on his plate.
the fact that the Jedi sort of insert themselves might be a bit galling. And
Basically, all the Jedi who survived the battle were named Jedi as well.
mm, that's handy.
You
That's
get
convenient.
Kiadi and Plo Koon and Kit Fisto and Ayla Secure, and you see all of those
Mm.
survive, and then a handful of others that I'm sure I've seen the names of.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is handy that they're all key figures later on.
Yeah.
Mostly on the council as well.
Mm.
Funny that.
Um. Then I actually like the actual battle scene. I think it's kind of cool.
I don't think there's enough going on in it
Are you
for
joking?
it to be really. No, like I, it's just a load of CG, isn't it? It's
You're
fine, but
right.
it's not anything special to me.
I yeah, I sort of liked it. I guess you need more. Yeah, I completely see your point actually. Um, I liked it well enough when I was watching it. Um, then we get Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Padme are all on the same ship, and well, Dooku is leaving, and he's taken the Death Star plans.
For what plans?
The Death Star plans.
For Death Star? What's for Death Star? I've never heard of a Death Star. This is
Well,
news to me.
it's going to be pretty bad for the Geonosians if the Republic find out they're building it, because you
Yeah.
can't really spin or explain away uh, a space station that can blow up a planet. Why are you building that then, eh? Why what's all that about, guys? You can't. No, it was a perfectly innocent super weapon.
That's not a space station. It's a moon.
Yes, it's for self-defense purposes only. Yeah, he takes those
I don't.
and he gets out of there with a couple of Geonosian ships for support.
Yeah. Well, you're better to fly under the radar, really, isn't it?
I guess. Um,
And they chase him.
mm,
Padme falls out of the ship,
and
and there's
Anna,
this whole moment where Anakin and Obi-Wan argue again.
yes, I like that. I think you could have done with a because we know he's just lost his mother, right? So he's worried about losing
Yeah.
somebody else he cares about. You could have
My mother's just died. I don't want to lose her too.
yes, you could have alluded to it, like, oh, I can't lose her as well, or something like that. But they don't. It sort of makes sense, but yeah. Um, I want to come back to a line that well, I'll do it now. In fact, Obi-Wan says he needs to do his duty, right?
Yeah,
You've got a job to do, you need to do it. Yoda does not do that when he's fighting Dooku, because Dooku tries to dump a big thing on Anakin and Obi-Wan to
yeah.
cover his escape, and Yoda prioritizes saving them over killing Dooku,
Hmm.
which is something they
Yeah.
say will end the war, which it probably wouldn't, but yeah.
Well, what's stopping them from just force grabbing the spaceship?
Well, it's a big spaceship and it's moving quickly, isn't
S- Size matters, does it not? Doesn't it? It doesn't matter, does it? I don't know.
it?
Judge him by his size, do you?
Yeah, well, he's struggling with that thing, and he had to. There was an awful lot of strain when he was moving that X-wing on Dagobah. I mean, he did it, but that X-wing was stationary. I don't think he
I
could
get
do
your
it.
point.
He can't just
I get
catch
your point.
ships out of midair.
Now you see, I know from experience that in extended media,
Yeah,
Darth Vader
yeah,
is able to crush a spaceship with his mind.
right.
It felt bullshit at the time, but this is Yoda we're talking about, and he's got two other Jedi there who are sort of maybe able to maybe do a little something.
No, no.
But fine, fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
So
Fine.
Anakin and Obi-Wan get to the hangar, and they fight Dooku.
Get their asses handed to them.
Yes, Anakin decides to go in first because he's bloody angry, and he get
It's interesting that Dooku didn't go for the kill immediately on Qui Gon. Not Qui Gon, on Obi Wan.
he's fucking exhausted.
No. Because with Obi Wan,
Yeah,
right? What he does is he doesn't seem to have that much trouble fighting Obi Wan.
yeah,
I didn't think he disarms him and then he goes to kill him afterwards when he's down, rather
yeah.
than just killing him or literally cutting limbs off like he does with Anakin.
Well, I think that was the best he could do.
I'm not sure it is.
Well, I think it is.
I don't think he had any real issue with Obi Wan. He looked visibly tired after Anakin. I'll grant that. I
Mm,
made a note about that.
mm,
But I don't think Obi Wan was a problem for him.
yeah,
And I think Anakin was only a problem for him because Anakin had got angry
yeah,
because Obi Wan was down. I don't feel it was I need to step up now or my mate, quote unquote mate, dies.
yeah.
I don't know.
I agree to disagree on that one. Um, and then comes a scene I'd forgotten about, and
What Yoda?
yeah, I'd forgotten Yoda has a fight scene, and it's fucking stupid, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, my note is Yoda being such a zippy bastard was such a joyous thing back then. It feels like such a wasted reveal when we consider Revenge of the Sith.
I sort of go the other way with it. I like the idea of Yoda as not a great warrior, but strong with the Force.
Hmm.
And they have that line earlier, like this weapon is your life. It's like the lightsaber and the Jedi have become so inextricably linked at this point. Um, so that's what a Jedi is. A Jedi is a guy with a lightsaber who can move shit with his mind. It's not the philosophical
I
stuff sort of been removed from it. And I think giving Yoda a fight scene is purely fan service. And I watched it and I didn't much like it.
no, you see, you've misunderstood my point.
Okay.
I I liked it when I was a kid watching it.
Yeah.
My feeling now is that we shouldn't have had a fight scene in this one. We should have had a fight scene only in the next one.
Well, that's
We
sort of
shouldn't have known that Yoda could do this until he absolutely had to fight with a lightsaber because he couldn't do it with the Force.
what I. Well, okay, yeah. I still
No,
don't.
the premise of your point was that you disagreed with my point.
Yeah, I still
Yeah.
do.
Whereas, well, I think you're wrong.
Okay.
I think this should have been a purely force-related battle. Yoda gets distracted, end it the same fucking way.
I don't think Yoda
End
should
if
have
you want
been.
to.
I don't think Yoda. Well, I think maybe Yoda should have turned up with like a whole heap of clone troopers, and at that point, Dooku like brings down the roof, and Yoda has to cover his exit, and he gets the
It's a
hell out of
serious
there.
point. Why is Yoda alone? Because I know for a fact he didn't fly the ship himself.
I don't know. I don't know. Good
Padme
point.
turns up with a bunch of clones.
I don't know. I don't know. Do you want to hear the scene that made me laugh out loud?
Go on then.
It was where Dooku's throwing shit one by one at Yoda, and Yoda catches it and throws it away, and then he like shoots lightning out of his hand at Yoda, and I just looked, and for some reason it just just started. I just laughed at just watching Christopher Lee like waving his hand about and at this thing that wasn't there, and I just thought the ridiculousness of the moment. My suspension of disbelief was lost entirely just for a second, and, and I don't know. There was something about it that I couldn't replicate, but it was just that moment was just so stupid for a fraction of a second, and I broke a little bit.
Well,
Um,
as long as you were amused, that's
mm.
all that. I'm sure George would be so happy to know that.
So yeah, then we've got I guess final wrapping up scenes. The clones are getting deployed.
Yep,
Obi-Wan,
war exists.
yes. Bail Organa looks disappointed that he couldn't stop it.
Why he's there in particular, I don't
I
know.
don't know. I guess just leading senators or sort of they've been invited to watch from the.
It's foreshadowing for his later involvement. That's all
Yeah.
it'll be.
Um, we get a scene with the Jedi where
Yep.
Obi-Wan he's wondering whether the Sith are in control, and Yoda dismisses him essentially, but says we should probably keep a closer eye on the Senate.
Hmm.
And then Anakin,
And they get their best man on the job for that, don't they?
yeah. And then Anakin and Padme get married at Lake Como.
Yeah. Pretty place.
It's a lovely place. I love Naboo. It's definitely where I'd want to live.
And at
Uh,
some point, they swap droids as wedding presents, apparently.
oh yeah, yeah. I suppose I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
How they
Like
got?
canonically, they swap their droids are their wedding gift to each other. So
Oh right, no, that makes sense. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Well. So yeah, I guess I like the second half. I think Anakin's characterization needed changing. There are issues with the love story and just how his relationship with Obi-Wan, and you could cut out a good few scenes.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I was thinking towards the end, do I prefer this to Return of the Jedi?
Christ.
And
I think no sane. No, I don't think any sensible person on the planet do.
I know I caught myself saying, am I seriously considered? I don't think I do. I don't think I
Well,
do.
I think you should be a bit more sure about that.
And it really came down to I like the bulk of the second chunk of this film,
Hmm.
but the first chunk has so many problems. Well, not so many, such big problems with it. Whereas Return of the Jedi, at worst, it was boring. I think, and I like the Jabba stuff, and I like the Emperor stuff. So
Okay.
I think Return of the Jedi edges it out because
Okay.
the acting throughout Attack of the Clones isn't great.
No, no, there's no real standout role there for beyond Ian.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone really stands out as doing a particularly good
no,
job.
Ju-
And Ian's barely in it.
yeah. I mean, Christopher Lee does well with what he's given.
But again, he's barely in it.
He's not given much to work with at all, really. And George Lucas can't direct people. Everybody's a bit stilted.
Mm.
The CG sort of adds to that a good bit, but there's still stuff I really like in this. And so, to my surprise, it's my ranking goes Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, Return of the Jedi, Attack of the Clones, Phantom Menace.
Okay.
And I maintain there's good things about the Phantom Menace as well. There's
Yeah,
probably, yeah. I think Attack of the Clones is better than Phantom Menace. What do you think?
I I would say that they're about even, personally.
What Return of the Jedi and Attack of the
No,
Clones?
no, fuck off. Don't be a twat. Don't be a twat. We've been going for an hour. Let's fucking get on with
All
it.
right.
I, I think this is on par with Phantom Menace. I would rather watch Phantom Menace again,
Mm.
but in terms of what it means for the series, I feel like Attack of the Clones has more merit.
So your rankings are Empire, A New Hope, Return of the Jedi,
No, 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 no. Empire, Return,
Return,
A
A
New
New
Hope,
Hope. Attack of the Clones
and then
slash a Phantom the Phantom Menace.
yeah, I would consider it one part.
Okay, well, let's see what changes next time when we look at the last of the prequels and the one everybody seems to think is the best, Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it.
Really? Why not?
Ah, I just, I don't know. We'll get to it.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.